Okay, welcome everyone. We are now live. As you can see, I'm joined by Ivo. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I can see we've already got some people joining us live. Please use the chat functionality to say hello on the side of the screen. We'll be able to see that. If you've got any questions during the coaching session, you can ask them. I might not get to them straight away, but I will try and address any questions that we get. We are hopefully going to be joined by Sundance as well. He's having a little bit of technical difficulties getting online. We're not sure why, but his browser isn't letting him on. But we are going to sort that out. So Niels is kind of helping him through that, coaching him through it, if you like. But we've got Ivo here, who Ivo, is it Ivo or Evo?
Ivo.
Ivo. We've got Ivo here, and we'll just give it another few seconds to let people join. Again, if you're online, you can use the chat function just to say hello. Hi, Dennis. Glad to have you with us. I know we get a real mixed bunch of people logging in and watching these, but glad to have everyone joining us. So, Ivo, why don't you start off by telling us what you'd like coaching on today?
Okay. I would like to know more about how not to care about people's opinions, because I struggle with. I'm one person when I'm around women. I'm a different person when I'm around guys that I don't know, and I don't know who I am. And because of me thinking, what are they going to think of me, I hold back a lot, and that's one of my problems at the moment. So I want to explore that.
So, why is it important for you to get over this?
Because I want to be myself around everyone. Doesn't matter who it is. I just say what I want, do what I want, without having those thoughts of like, what are they going to think of me? And because that holds me back from doing a lot of things I would like to do. And I just don't like that. I want to improve that.
And let's say you were more yourself, right? Mm. Let's say you were more free in what you said and less concerned about what people thought of you. What impact would that have on your life?
Well, I'll be more honest with people, more direct. Like if I want to say something, I will say it and take the consequences, not just play it safe over here and just, watch from the side. Trying to think. I don't know. I think that's it, actually.
And what impact would that have?
I think speaking my truth. I don't know. My mind's gone blank right now. I don't know. I wouldn't say so much speaking my truth that I have problem with, but it's more when I'm in a group situation with more than two people, when I'm talking to more than two people, I tend to hold back a lot more. So, for example, if I'm speaking to you right now, it's fine. But as soon as two or three people join, it's like, I start to hold back and just be up in my head and just not be myself.
Why do you think that is?
Think of my thoughts. Yeah. Because I think what's going through my head is that if I say something, they will say this. And it's not a positive thought, it's a negative one. So I don't say what I want to say to them. Or I express my opinion.
So let's say you have a conversation with a group, and what are you imagining? You said the issue is your thoughts, but tell me a little bit more about that. What's the kind of worst case? What are you imagining that's going to happen?
Well, for me, the worst case could be awkward silence and people are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Yeah, I think I'm afraid of people laughing at me at most. Yeah.
So let's say we were in a group right now, and let's say there were 4 or 5 of us, and you said something, and you were kind of more open and more free with what you were saying, and everyone thought, what an idiot, how silly, or whatever else, and we all started laughing at you. What would that mean for you?
That would make me feel worse about myself. Because if everyone starts to laugh, then I'll feel like my confidence will go down. I'll be impacted maybe for a week, I'm assuming. Then the next time I have to speak in front of a group of people, then it will be, I wouldn't even open up as much as I did because I got laughed at.
So it looks like to you that your confidence, and I'd even say your self-worth, is determined by other people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if I'm fully honest, yeah, at this moment.
So just imagine some people who are really, really confident.
Mm-hmm.
Are they the people that are liked the most, or are approved of the most? Or in your head, the people that have got the greatest confidence, greatest self-belief, greatest self-worth, has it got nothing to do with what people think about them?
Can you say that again?
So you said you can see a correlation between what people think of you and your confidence and self-worth, right? So if people don't approve of you, then your self-worth and confidence reduces.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what I'm saying is, think about, whoever real person who's got, high confidence, high self-worth, high self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, do you think their high confidence, high self-worth, high self-esteem is because a lot of people approve of them?
No.
Or do you think their high confidence, high self-esteem, high self-worth is shown by the fact that they don't care what people think of them?
Yeah. But they don't care about what people think of them.
So if high confidence, high self-esteem, as you see in other people, is from those people, they don't care about what people think of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then how can what people think of you knock your self-esteem, knock your confidence? That doesn't follow logically, does it?
Let me try to see if I can phrase in another way.
Well, I just want to follow. I just want you to follow that for now, right? Because you've got some kind of assumption, which is if you're not being more free with what you think and what you want to say, because you are concerned that people are going to, in a roundabout way, they're going to not approve of what you've got to say, right? And that will knock your self-belief, right? That's an underlying assumption. And what I'm saying is, can you see how that is incompatible with what you see as people with high self-esteem who see if that was how it worked, right? If people disapproved of you, right? And that caused your confidence and self-esteem to drop, then the people with the highest confidence and the highest self-esteem would be the people who were approved of the most, who were the most popular. But what you're telling me is that that's not true, right? But it like that's the logic,
right?
So if you can see that the people with the highest confidence, highest self-esteem don't care what people think, that means it also shows that if people disapprove of them, if people don't like them, the fact that they've got high confidence, high self-esteem means their high confidence and high self-esteem is intact. Right? So it means that people not approving of them cannot knock their confidence or self-esteem. That's not how confidence and self-esteem works.
I'm wondering, like, how do you not care what they think, or how do you not buy into what they're saying to you?
Well, for me, a different question or a different way that I'd like to point you is, rather than how do I not care what they think, right? It's looking at deeper than that, because you care what they think because you think that's going to impact your confidence and self-esteem, right? So as long as you believe your confidence and self-esteem and how you feel is determined by what people think of you, if that's true, right, then it's really, really hard to not care what people think of you.
Okay.
Right? If my confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth was determined by what you think of me, right, it'd be really, really, really hard for me not to care what you think of me, because I want to have high confidence, high self-esteem, and high self-worth. So does everyone. So the two things are incompatible, right? They're kind of pulling apart. So on one hand, you're like, well, my confidence, self-esteem, and everything else is determined by the people. So how can I not care what they think? Well, it's really hard to not care about what they think, because it's going to determine how you feel. Unless, right, this is the crux. If you realize your confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, all of that and everything else is not caused by what people think of you, if you realize that, then it's much easier not to care what people think of you.
So I should focus on changing my belief about how confidence arises, to changing my thoughts.
Well, it's not about changing your belief or your thoughts. I'm pointing to a fact, right? This is not about changing your mindset. I want to point you to how confidence, self-belief, self-worth, how it comes about, right? Like imagine you had, do you have any siblings? Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a stepsister.
Okay. Imagine her confidence, self-belief, and self-worth was determined by what you thought of her. That's like a really weird power to have over someone, right? Like if you could go in and change how she feels, like, oh, you're worth nothing, you're this, you're that, right? If that determined how she felt, she would be at the mercy of you and everyone else. But it doesn't, right? Like, this is not a belief. This is not a mindset. This is not another good idea. This is a fact, right?
Mhm.
It's a fact. If my self-worth came from what you thought of me, it's really, really important for you to like me, right? But it doesn't. Like, have you ever been around a bunch of people who really, really, really like you?
Mhm.
Right? Has your self-worth increased?
Not that much.
Right? Because self-worth is just a thought.
Mhm.
It's just a thought. And that thought comes from you, not from anyone else. There are some people that go out there looking to get a reaction. They want people not to like them, right? Or they want to gauge a reaction from someone. You know, there are some people who say, if you're not upsetting someone, then you're not trying hard enough, right?
Mhm.
You're playing it too safe. Now, why can they say that? If their self-belief, self-worth came from what people thought of them, that would be madness. That would be crazy. But it doesn't work that way. This is a fact. Again, I want to come back to it. It's a fact. It's not a belief.
Mhm. So I think what I'm doing right now is that I'm trying to seek confidence and self-esteem outside in instead of getting it inside out.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Self-esteem, confidence, self-worth doesn't come from out there, right? It comes from in here.
Yeah.
It comes from here, right? It's a reflection, right? If it came from the outside, you would be able to measure it, right? Would be able to hook you up to a machine, or would be able to check your environment and say, either your self-esteem is on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 7.3. But you can't. Why can't you? Because it's all made up. It's thought, and thought is formless. There's no weight. There's no size. There's no color to thought. Right? It's made up. It has no form, and it changes moment to moment. Right? Like, have you ever had, a day or something where you start off feeling pretty good, and then for no reason you start feeling a bit down, a bit low, or the other way around? Right? That goes to show it's all made up. Because if it was caused by the outside, it'd stay constant. Right? It would stay constant. But it's not. It's changing, because it's an inside out job. Right? Now here's the important piece. Because you might be asking me, okay, so what can I do about it? Right? But let me take you back to when you were a kid. When you were a small child. Did you have self-esteem issues when you were a kid, when you were like 3 or 4 years old?
No.
Did you have confidence issues? Did you have self-worth issues?
No.
Right? So this is not something you need to develop. This is who you are. When you were a young child, right? You didn't think, oh, I'm not going to learn to walk. I'm so stupid. I fell over 10 times. Right? You kept doing it. You had no confidence issues there. You had no self-belief issues, no self-worth issues. Right? Kids don't say, well, I'm not worthy for this. I'm not worthy for that. They don't have that concept, because it's a concept. That's the made up piece. So inside of you, 100%, your natural state, your natural essence is one of complete self-worth, one of high self-esteem. It's your natural state. If it wasn't your natural state, then kids would be having panic attacks, right? And like depression or whatever else, right? But young kids, and talking about 3 or 4 years old, before they start taking on beliefs and ideas and opinions and culture, right? When they're untouched by that, they demonstrate this. I used to demonstrate this when I was very young. I didn't have any issues. When I got into my teens, then it looked like I did. It looked like I was a shy person. I'd made it up. I wasn't very confident. I was this, I was that. It was all made up. That's the made up piece. So you don't need to make up, like some people say, like, imagine yourself to be confident. You don't need to do that. It's who you are. It's who you are naturally. Do you see that?
Yeah. I'm assuming that my natural state, being confident, is covered by all those thoughts of what are people gonna think. I'm not. My thinking is contaminated. Yeah, I think so.
So you've got a bunch of thoughts where you're worried about what people think of you, right?
Yeah.
And this is the nature of thoughts. They're like clouds, they pass. If you leave them alone, they'll go. If they didn't, your brain would get clogged up. Mm-hmm. Like, how many thoughts have you had since the start of this call?
Can't count them.
All right, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How many have you had since the start of this day? Right, a lot more.
Mm.
How many have you had, in the past month? Right, God knows. How many have you had in your life? Millions upon billions of different thoughts you probably had over your lifetime.
Mm.
They pass. They come and they go. They come and they go. Now, if you hold on to a thought, what are they going to think about me? Right? Then you reinforce it temporarily. Temporarily, you reinforce it. And so then it becomes really important, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this one's here. It's back again. This thought, I can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it will go. If you leave it alone, it will go. And the flip side is true as well. There's nothing you can do. Like, I don't know anyone that feels confident all the time. And there's so many examples of that. People are really, really good at whatever they do, right? They say they still get nervous, right?
Yeah.
On the big stage, people still say they get a bit nervous.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get rid of that fear. You're never going to get rid of that little bit of anxiety from time to time. Now, sometimes you won't have it, but I still get it sometimes. Right? It's because I can't control my thoughts. No one can.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control the initial thought that comes up. And then when we try and control it, then we hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that reinforces it. And human nature is we want to do something. Give me the 3 steps that I need to do in order to let go of my thinking. Mm. Right? Give me the 3 steps I need to do to change my thinking. Give me the 3 steps I need to do in order to be more clear.
Mm.
Right? But that's just adding more thinking. That's just adding more congestion up here, which is the problem in the first place. Right? So imagine you've got a bath full of water, right? And you want to get rid of the water. Just pull the plug, right? The water will go down. The more you splash around, the more you try and push it down, you're stopping it. You're actually creating a barrier. Just leave it. It's going to go.
Wow, yeah, it makes sense to me because I realized I started reading. Somebody should have told us this, and he's, he mentioned about a thought. He was talking about thoughts that we grab onto and thoughts that we just let go of. That was like, that's interesting, and it relates to what you're saying. To some thoughts like, oh, I'm not good looking, we hold on to them, but to other thoughts we don't. That's the problem, holding on to it. That makes sense. Yeah.
So where are you at with this now?
Right now, I'm more like, I don't wanna like hold on to the thought. That's what I'm gonna. How do I say this? I don't know. Just acknowledge the thought and just don't hold on to it. No, it's just there. It came up again. But I'm not gonna be like, what can I do about it? Because that will create even more problems.
You don't even need to do that. So the acknowledgement piece, just even drop that bit. That doesn't even need to be done either.
Okay.
They're like, when people say there's nothing to do, it means there's nothing to do on the level of your thinking. There's nothing you need to do up here, right? It's so less. There's so less that you need to do. That's the point.
I'm trying to take this in.
Then not at all. So normally I spend longer, obviously, in a real coaching call with someone. These coaching calls tend to be kind of half an hour or so each. But what's coming up for you at the moment, Ivo?
I just wrote down some what you're talking about and how confident people don't care what people think of them, and that's why they're confident. And that starts within them, within them. They're not seeking approval from others. They're not doing what I'm doing with approval in order to be confident. They're doing the opposite, which is a fact, like you said. So I'm sitting with that for at the moment.
I had I did a training course many years ago, and one of the guys who was teaching it said that men crave approval, and it was something that I ever since then I've really seen, specifically with men, how the way we often talk and the way we share and boast and do whatever is a result of us craving approval, right? Really craving approval from others, and how foolish it is. I recently was at a social event, and with a bunch of guys I didn't know. They were kind of friends of friends, and so I only knew one of the guys there, and what I found was that everyone was, all of the men were really trying to impress each other, with like how much money they'd earned, or you know, what holidays they'd been on, what their job prospects were, what watches they were wearing. It was all kind of trying to impress, right? And it was all like getting approval from other men. And what was funny is that it never works, really, right? It never really works because no one can make you feel anything, right? So in a way, the only person's approval you need is your own. There was one guy I met, and he was constantly talking about money, and we kind of met up, and as we were walking away, the friend that I knew was like, yeah, before I'd even said anything, yeah, I know, he talks a lot about money, right? So everyone could feel it. It was kind of weird and strange, like, how important that was to him. It was the only thing he was really talking about. And, it didn't lead people to like him or to be impressed by him or anything else. It was just like, yeah, he talks a lot about money. Right. And I because of what I do for a living, right, I was kind of observing this, and I was just thinking, this guy doesn't really like himself all that much. Because if he did, he wouldn't need to talk about things in that way. It wouldn't be that important to him. Right? And the funny thing was, you could tell he was actually a really nice guy. And he didn't need to talk about that sort of stuff. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have ever talked about it, but he didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
You might have seen the same thing with certain men who have to brag about their exploits with women, right?
Yeah.
Again, it comes out of insecurity and neediness for other people to approve of them, to like them, to be impressed by them, right? Mm-hmm. Because they think if they are, then that makes them more. I mean, I can relate to that. I used to walk around trying to impress people when I was younger, like a lot. I wanted to show off. I wanted to show off with the car that I was driving. I wanted to show off with how important I was in my job. I wanted to show off with whatever, right? And it was all coming out of insecurity. It was all coming out of not feeling, good enough on the inside. I probably wouldn't have admitted that, but that was the truth. And so I was desperately trying to cling to some good feelings from outside of me, and it never worked because those good feelings can't come from outside of me. No one can give them to me.
Yeah.
Do you see how that applies to you?
Yeah. Because I still have the temptation to brag around about the women I'm with and stuff like that, but I don't do it. Sometimes I almost do it, but I don't do it. That's what I'm doing. That's true what you said, that bragging is a form of insecurity. You need someone's approval for your feelings, the outside in misunderstanding. Yeah. Super cool. I'm just wondering, because you said that doing less is better, but I'm just wondering, how can you stop seeking that approval?
Well, that only comes from when you see that approval doesn't give you what you think it does.
Uh-huh.
That's all it is, right?
Okay. Just seeing the fact and accepting it.
Like I talk about this sometimes, that, let's take movie stars. I think I might have given you this example before, previously when we've spoken, that movie stars have a lot of the things that we think we would like to make us happier or to feel better. They've got fame, which is approval. They've got beautiful partners. They've got lots of money, right? They've got often in maybe not the healthiest, but in great shape too. They've got the bodies that we want too, right? Quite often. Mm-hmm. And yet this group, if you like, are the ones that quite often we would say aren't the most mentally healthy people. Often end up in things like rehab, often have struggle with depression and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, some celebrities will say they really missed the time where they weren't so well known, where they weren't so approved of, right? Like, oh wow, you're wonderful, you're amazing, you're this, you're that. And funnily enough, CEOs are often similar, right? They find themselves when they're at the top and there's only one of them, everyone's agreeing with them. No one tells them what they really think. You know, people that are running these big companies, and they crave a real conversation, right? With people telling them what they really think. They don't want approval because they realize approval doesn't make them happy, right? And if you see that for yourself, approval doesn't make you happier, then you'll stop chasing it.
Mm-hmm. I'll just write that down.
Yeah, so I know. Talk about Neil's just saying, haha, oh dear, all these gremlins. Yeah, we're having a few gremlins today. But yeah, how's that sitting with you? I asked you if you had any of the questions or whether you're complete for now with this.
Yeah, it's eye-opening because I realized, like, even with women, I would seek their approval because if a girl gives me a sign that she likes me, then my day's better, right? And if a girl that I'm into doesn't like me, then my day's worse. And again, I think that's seeking the approval. I'm looking for happiness outside of myself, and that's not right.
So we've gone to a certain level of depth with this, and I know we've had a few issues. It doesn't mean the most free-flowing, should we say, conversation, because we've had things dropping in and out. But even then, this is a relatively short conversation, and the ideas of these isn't to have a full-on coaching call, but just to give you a glimpse of what that is. But what I see is that we're just scratching the surface of this, of what this really is, and I know that I know you're doing a lot of reading about the inside-out nature of reality, and you said you're reading a book called "Somebody Should Have Told Us" by Jack Pransky. I mean, that's what he's really pointing to, and I know you've read a couple of other books. I believe The Inside Out Revolution and The Little Book of Clarity. You know, I'd suggest if anyone else wants to explore this more deeply, that I would offer the same. And what this conversation goes to show is, just because you read a book, it doesn't mean you see the world inside out everywhere. What tends to happen is you'll see it in a certain area in your life. It will make sense in a certain way, but there's a lot more depth to this than you may first realize. So in the area of worrying what people think, you hadn't realized you saw the world as outside in, that the outside was, you didn't realize you thought the outside was causing you to feel something in that situation. Mm-hmm. So the more clearly, like, as you've seen it in other areas, as you see it with regards to social situations and other people, the more this will start to evolve and change. This isn't about mindset change or anything like that. Is there anything you're not understanding or doesn't make sense?
Not that I can think of.
I know Sundance is still having trouble logging on, so we'll try and get him online next month. For some reason, he was logging in, but the computer wasn't accessing his webcam. But we've got a few minutes left. If I know a few of you are online watching this, if you've got any questions before we finish, let me know, or just give us your thoughts or feedback. Ivo, I've got a feeling that as you let this conversation settle, that insights are really going to settle in for you.
Okay.
Would you be willing to share those insights in the Powerful Men's group on Facebook?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today. Sundance couldn't join us, but it meant you got a little bit more time. Still had a few gremlins, which hopefully we can improve as we do these and make sure we get less and less of these issues. And I'll see everyone next month. Thanks for joining us.
Take care, everyone.